Welcome everyone to the CDO magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President, Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CDO magazine, MIT CIQ Symposium, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Bob Parr, the principal with KPMG and the Chief Data Officer of KPMG US Advisory Service or Advisory Office. Welcome, Bob.
Robert, great to be here.
You know, a more traditional CDO function is data governance. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how you are addressing that at KPMG?
No, it's a great point. And, like many organizations, we have three lines of defense. So we've got, certainly centralized risk groups and even a centralized data group that helps form policy. And really, at the end of the day, gives us the guardrails that we live within. But, for me, I'm more focused on the first line of defense. And so it's really all about the handling of our data assets and our client confidential information. And, we're a multi-country regulated entity that's constantly sending data back and forth to clients. And so, my group focuses on the information handling protocols that our teams use through the day-to-day execution of working with that data. When I say protocols, this isn't policy. This is something very much lower level tactical. It's the actionable and specific instructions that the teams need to handle the data correctly for a given situation. So this could pertain to when to de-identify the data. This could and handle PII, or it could be related to encryption protocols, or even increasingly deal with issues such as AI and data ethics. And so it's really helping teams navigate all of that complexity. And so it's really less about helping less about policy and really helping our teams, with that. And again, similar to a data concierge that we had, with use cases and connecting data, the assets of the firm, we have information protection coaches that actually work with the teams to answer questions via a sounding board, so that, they're never left guessing, am I handling this in the right way? Because it gets pretty complicated when you start dealing with multiple countries and different states and radically different types of data. And they need help. And so we felt like there needed to be a human in the loop to sort of bridge that gap.
And, just from what I'm hearing, it's great to hear you talking about client confidentiality, because I'm sure that would obviously talk about and include ethics and data ethics. And I'm also hearing that there's probably a lot of playbooks that you've had to develop for the teams in different countries. But if we go back to the kind of concept, and I know that I've seen you present in past presentations, and data ethics has got to be critical in this day and age, and it's certainly getting more momentum in discussions with CDOs. Perhaps you might be able to share with us, how your team is supporting data ethics within the organization.
Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do is help our teams build ethical decision-making skills and pertaining to data and AI. That's really the main focus. There is a much broader, focus on ethical decision-making with our, we have an internal group, dedicated to doing that. And so, they get bombarded with a whole bunch of different types of scenarios. But if you double click on data and AI, that's really where my team comes in. And it's really looking at the scope of data, but also algorithms and also technology, because they all sort of relate together generally. And it's again, these information protection coaches really are an important connector to the teams. But beyond that, there's also a major focus on training and really exposing our teams to through simulation and various videos and courses and podcasts and the like, just to raise sensitivity and awareness. So when they encounter these types of situations, a little tripwire goes up and they recognize that there's a trade-off being made here, and that they need to pause and really think about what's appropriate going forward. So,
and is this something that is this something that you think as a CDO that it's your role, or it should be the role of a CDO to disseminate this to the audience, to their organization?
Yeah, I think the CDOs are in a really great place to do it. Obviously, in partnership with some of the other risk organizations that that are out there within their organization, like that. Certainly, that's what we're doing. But I think the CDO, in terms of appreciating the use cases and the situations, they also have, I think, a mantle to through literacy programs and things like that, to include this type of content in that. And as I think about, this is emerging certainly in many organizations, but fast forward 2 years, this is going to be a really significant area of focus, I believe, for CDOs. And when I look at the potential to impact reputation, there's just, if you have a failure in this area, it can be very significant. And so I think the CDO really can elevate their role in the firm and really show some leadership in this area. And I think that's an important responsibility we have in the coming years.
Well, you've heard it here. Watch this space for the next 2 years, data ethics. Bob, in the remaining few minutes that we've got, we certainly would like your opinion to maybe gaze into the crystal ball and sort of say, what are the essential items you feel could make the biggest difference in helping the CDO create new sources of value to the organization or for the organization? What do you think?
Yeah, when I look back at the past couple of years, I think the biggest things that really made a difference was just really the decision to look beyond the traditional, more foundational functions and to really connect the portfolio of services to the growth agenda. I think that's such a critical first step. But then within that, it's and I look back at it, every function in my organization has some connection to growth, and whether it's enabling self-service or broadening the base of literacy of our people, or whether it's helping navigate or connect in the use of our data assets, or even just supplying the utilities to help people go farther than they would on their own. That growth focus really, to me is a critical pivot point for CDOs if they haven't already started down that path. I think it's just in hindsight, looking back, I think that's a really important first step.
Well, Bob, wonderful chance to catch up with you again, and I'd really like to thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. We do hope we get a chance to come back and do this in the future. So many thanks for your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.